everybody, I'm Julieta, and today I want to talk about diastasis recti. So I have 2 kids, and with my first, I have a hernia here, my diastasis, I have no idea how wide it is, so we're going to check that, and I just have a ton of skin. My goal with this is to educate women about the situation, because I remember, I had no idea during my pregnancy, and then when I went to my OB-GYN for my 6-week appointment, I asked him, and he said, oh no, that happens to all moms, and then maybe surgery is like the solution. And that's how I was able to know about it. I went and researched online and tried to do my best to help my situation, but today I want to bring you to someone who knows more than I do, and we're going to go through all. So, welcome.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Joni Johnson, and I am one of the co-founders of the Pregnancy Club here in New York City. I am a pre-postnatal corrective exercise specialist, as well as a diastasis and core consultant, and mother to a 2-year-old.
So let's start with the first question that even people have an idea. When they mention I have diastasis recti, people is like, what? What is that?
Right, exactly.
What is?
So our bodies are built, if you can picture a skeleton where the skin has been taken away and it's just the muscles that you see, there is a white line. Okay, so a diastasis recti, or sometimes you'll hear people say diastasis recti, it's like potato. It is, if you think of that image of a body where you take the skin away and you just see the muscle, there's a white line that runs down the front of the belly. And that white line is called your linea alba. So that is connective tissue, or fascia, that connects the 2 halves of your 6-pack muscles together. If you think of those, most people when they think of their core just think of those ripply muscles that look great. Yeah. So that line is in charge of holding those 2 halves of the muscle together. So what happens during pregnancy, actually people don't realize that men can also develop this. If you think of a man that has a really large belly, it's the same thing, that linea alba, the integrity of that has been stretched. And what happens is that during pregnancy, our linea alba is made to stretch about 2 to 3 finger widths apart, and it can put itself back together from there in postpartum. But what happens because of the mechanics of our breath and our movement, when we have some kind of a core dysfunction, it stretches that beyond that normal amount. And if you think of this like a rubber band, this connective tissue, if you stretch a rubber band a little bit, it comes back. If you stretch it too much, it kind of turns itself into cellophane, which is this is what you're seeing here for the core. So your connective tissue has stretched beyond that normal amount, and it's not like a muscle. It doesn't heal itself and put itself back together like a muscle that's been injured. It gets stretched beyond the normal amount, and then it's just there. So that's what you're experiencing right now.
Why do you think that there's this huge lack of information for moms about this?
Yes. So the research on this is actually new, and it's changing. There is a handful of people that are doing the research on it, and it's changing at a really fast pace. So it's one of those things that you have to stay up to date on. And a lot of the pregnancy rules that were first set back in like the 80s for women to start exercising and moving were very, very conservative. So doctors have that information, and if they've gone to med school before that time, that's the information that they have. If they've gone to school after that, after the regulations have changed and become a little more, I don't want to say loose, but there's more information and more research there, they can give you a little more information about what you should be doing to exercise safely during pregnancy. But I would say your doctor is really good at what they do, and they have their limitations about what they're devoting their time and their research to. So a lot of us just trust our doctor's recommendation wholeheartedly. And the general recommendation is if you did it before pregnancy, you're fine to do it throughout. And that's actually not true. That's the biggest myth that's out there. If you were a CrossFitter before pregnancy and you were a person that's doing a lot of high impact movements, holding planks for a long time, unless you have this information about how to activate your core and coordinate your diaphragm and pelvic floor correctly, and there are athletes out there who know this information and do it correctly, but for the general population, we haven't been trained how to be a fully functional mover and breather. So if you continue those exercises in postpartum, or not postpartum, in pregnancy, without that knowledge of your body and what it should be doing, then we're putting ourselves at risk for a diastasis. So it's just coming from that recommendation of, yeah, do whatever you did before pregnancy, you're fine. Yeah, and that is fine, it keeps the baby safe. But pregnancy during exercises, especially here at FPC, we're concerned, like we know that baby is safe. Our main concern is keeping your core and your pelvic floor completely intact, nice and strong during pregnancy, so you can make a complete postpartum recovery without having to go into PT and rehab afterwards.
So let's say like for a person who has no idea about workout, but she wants to keep active during the pregnancy, what would be like a no, like don't do this?
So this is one of those things where it's not one size fits all.
This little one just woke up from his nap, so he's gonna join us. And now we're going back to how to avoid this during pregnancy. Like what can a regular woman do to avoid this?
Okay.
While pregnant.
So, not one size fits all when it comes to, I think a lot of us have read on the internet or Googled what exercises not to do. And it's usually don't do crunches, don't do sit-ups, and don't do deep twisting. Like those are the big ones that we're told. It's all about, one, breathing with a functional breath, which means that we're not breathing in this stressed out place where most of us live. Most of us don't take a deep breath into the diaphragm. We have a little rise and fall up top instead. So if you're breathing up here, it means that your diaphragm is idling and it's not firing correctly. Your diaphragm is the top of your inner core unit. Your inner core unit is your diaphragm, your pelvic floor. Your transverse abdominis, which is that really deep abdominal muscle, and your multifidus muscles that run down along your spine. So the way to avoid a diastasis during pregnancy is to make sure that that inner core unit is all firing properly and that it's strong and staying strong. So that's why I say one size doesn't fit all, because if someone was to do something like a plank, for instance, I'll get a shot of my core here, but if I go into a plank position, I've got that core turned on and wrapping and supporting me. And if you think of having a big belly here, with that connective tissue wrap, look what happens in my belly. The belly is released, and I've just put a huge strain on that connective tissue at the front of the body. So it's more than just exercise, it's reprogramming all these day-to-day movements. How much does he weigh?
Like 28 pounds.
28 pounds. You pick up a 28-pound toddler while you're pregnant, and if you do it and you force that connective tissue out and you're not breathing and using all of this correctly, you're putting strain on your body.
I'm imagining like my connective tissue like going.
Yeah. So the important thing that you want to learn to do is breathe into your diaphragm. What is the pelvic floor doing? Is it working with your diaphragm? And can you wrap that deep abdominal muscle in order to protect yourself and to continue to bring that connective tissue back towards the body as you're loading force? So if you pick up something heavy, even a bag of groceries, you want to wrap that belly towards you as you load, as you increase the load. So I would say, aside from traditional crunches and like those V-sits and sit-ups, those are obviously things you want to stay out of because it works the six-pack muscles. In pregnancy, you don't want to do anything to train the six-pack or the obliques. A lot of people will take an exercise in pregnancy and this looks really safe because like what could you do to the baby here? But you're training your oblique muscles. The stronger those external muscles get, the more they pull on that connective tissue. So if you're pregnant, even first trimester, stay out of the crunches, stay out of the obliques, and start to work on that deep transverse abdominis muscle instead. It runs under your six-pack, under your obliques. That's the core work that we want to do during pregnancy, not the glamour muscles, I like to call them, because they're really pretty. Just asking if someone is prenatal certified is not enough to keep you safe. My business partner is a great example. She had a prenatal certified trainer during pregnancy, and he essentially gave her a diastasis. She was holding plank, she was doing just like not focusing on that breath work because they don't have this diaphragm pelvic floor. Some do. I'm not saying that like an overall they don't, but if you're looking for someone, ask them if they know anything about the diaphragm and pelvic floor and how the breath work and the transverse abdominis, which you can label as the TVA, ask them if they are incorporating that into their prenatal training. Yeah, but those are the three big things to ask: diaphragm, pelvic floor, transverse abdominis. If your trainer knows nothing about those three things,
Run.
Go the other direction. Yes, exactly.
How do you know if you have diastasis recti? Should you look for it?
Yes, okay. All right, can we use you as an example?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so the biggest sign on you visually, this isn't like this on everyone, is the skin. Yeah, because what we talked about has happened is your six pack has separated and all of this has lost integrity. So because these muscles aren't in the right place, it's causing this in the belly to see this. There's also the other thing that you have visually is your linea alba when it's intact up here. It feels a little bit like a trampoline right here at the bottom of the rib cage. And then as you work your way down, it's just you feel a softness that goes right down into the belly. And so that's another sign that there's something going on. Another thing which we tested that I didn't see on you, but I can use myself as an example, I have a lower diastasis. Something to note, if you've had a C-section, they do a horizontal cut, which I have. They don't cut the muscles, but they will go up the muscle fascia to help make more room to get the baby out. So they're essentially separating your linea alba, giving you a diastasis. Some doctors will put a stitch there, some will not. So you never know. And I actually was misdiagnosed a few times because I had some lower back pain. The lower back pain is a sign that something's going on more than just core weakness. So my abdominal separation is about here on my belly. So you can see I'm gonna put my legs up. If I am doing that deep transverse abdominis wrap, I'm pulling those two halves together. I'm gonna come up here. Rehab it in postpartum is that transverse abdominis wrap. You see my TVA is turned on, there's no coning. As soon as I turn off that deep core muscle, it goes into that coning or that peak. So a lot of people will just think that it's muscle that they see during pregnancy. They sit up like this, they get down like this, they see that peak. I actually had a client, I got to her house one day and she's like, look at this cool muscle. And I was like, no, it's not a muscle. That is that separation in that linea alba. But every pregnant woman is going to experience a little bit of that. Yes. So just because you see that does not guarantee that you're going to end up with a wide separation like this. But it's a sign that your belly is not able to hold that integrity during that specific movement, so you get yourself out of it.
So there's different levels of
yeah. They're like, this is a really small separation that I just have had to reprogram. I don't want to say an easy fix because you have to change all of your daily movements, which everyone does with a separation. But there's that, and then there's also a bigger separation like this, where I'm not a PT, so I don't want to make an official diagnosis of how many finger separation this is. But what they'll do is start to feel for the sides of your rectus abdominis, and then they'll take a measure from there. And it's measured in centimeters, so you figure like a fingertip. Yeah. So some people will say, oh, it's 3, it's 4 fingers. Because they'll do that assessment. They'll have you do a little bit of a sit-up. They'll check for that doming. And then the other thing that they should check for, if they are up to date on the research, is the integrity of that belly wrap. So if you take that belly pump we learned, you inhale, you relax all this, this is really soft and loose here. So you exhale, wrapping that core from the pubic bone all the way to the bottom of the rib cage, and then you feel through that again, and there's more tension through there. So this tells me that you have the ability to get that functionality back into your body. So that belly pump, pelvic floor lift, diaphragm breath, all of that is gonna help pull this back together.
And it's because when I started finding out about my diastasis, I told my mom about it. She was like, oh, is it possible that I have this? Because I felt this like coning. She felt like she used to do like maybe lift, and she would feel like something popped out.
Yeah.
And she was like, can this be a diastasis like after like 20 plus years?
Absolutely, because if you don't do anything to heal it, it's always going to be there.
It's always going to be
Yeah, yeah. And some women don't even realize they have it until they hit menopause or they're much older, and it's like your body has held it together for so long and it just can't do it anymore. So you'll experience feelings like, not feelings, but symptoms like incontinence or back pain, or all of these work together: the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, the TVA. So if there is loss of integrity in the very center of that core unit, your body's going to compensate in other places. So if you have spent 20 years of your life with that lack of integrity, and your body has managed to hold it together for that amount of time, a lot of women don't realize until they're in their 50s that they even have a diastasis or that there's something wrong, because it's not always visible like that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but there absolutely, you could start to work on healing it then, and you should.
And you can still feel it like 20 years.
Yeah. You work on retraining that core unit, diaphragm. You just make yourself functional again, and then you can start to work on healing it. It's never too late to start.
It's too late.
Assessed by a pelvic floor therapist, step one. Or if you don't have access to an FPC type organization.
If you're in New York, you should come here.
You can find a women's health physical therapist, so not just a general PT. You want to find someone that specializes in women's health, and even more specifically, pelvic floor therapist, because we think pelvic floor, like my pelvic floor is fine. If you don't have those symptoms, this is all related. So a pelvic floor physio will be able to do an assessment for you, and then tell you if it's something that she can address or if you should go somewhere else. You asked for 3, but that's one. That's one. Yeah, that's the place where you want to start. Yeah.
And I personally want to tell you that it's like when I found out about mine, I went to Google and I found online courses, and there's some information, and the courses might work to a certain point, but all the information that she just gave me, it's been like, wow. And I wish that I would have had it like years ago. So it's very important.
Yeah, to find the right information.
And now, and let's say just before they go to a therapist, if they for some reason want to just not make it worse at home, can we do the
belly pump?
The belly pumps and the things like how would you carry a baby? Because we're carrying babies all the time and they're so heavy.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God, he's 28 pounds now. I mean, every time I carry him.
Yes, that's very heavy. Let's start with the belly pump and Kegel.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start with that tuck and that tilt. You feel that range of motion in your pelvis? So you tuck it underneath like someone's pinched your butt, you're trying to get away from them? Yep. And then put that big arch in your back. Yeah. So this is the range that we have in our pelvis, and I want you to perch yourself directly on top of those 2 bony points underneath you. Those are your sits bones. Okay, this is going to give us full access in that range of motion of the pelvic floor. We're going to do a diaphragmatic breath as step 1. That's the opposite of a stress breath. So if you watch yourself in a mirror and you see any rise and fall up here, even if it's subtle, it's a sign that your diaphragm's not working. So I want you to bring your hands to the bottom 2 ribs. And as you breathe in and out, I want you to feel a 3-dimensional expansion at the bottom of the rib cage. So that's your inhale, that's your exhale. No belly pump yet. I want you to stay soft with the
Just
floor.
breathing.
She knows too much. She's too smart. Yeah, so just breathing. And I'm seeing a little rise and fall here. Yep, so calm it down. I like to say, think of this as the breath you would go into if you were sleeping at night, or the breath when you have a newborn and you're just checking them to make sure they're alive when they're sleeping. You see that rise and fall in their belly? That's what we're trying to do in ourselves. Yeah. So we get the diaphragm turned on. Your diaphragm is the most important muscle in your body. Most important. So if it's not working properly, everything else is going to compromise. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we're going to keep this soft, low, calming breath. And the next thing that you're gonna do is think about turning on your pelvic floor muscles. Put your imagine a diamond, pubic bone to tailbone, sits bone to sits bone. You have those 4 points. Think of drawing them together and lifting them up through the center of your body. So as you breathe out, you want to do a little pelvic floor lift or a Kegel. As you breathe in, you want to lengthen and relax those muscles. We've got the diaphragm working, the pelvic floor working. The pelvic floor and the diaphragm work like this together. You breathe in, everything releases. You breathe out, the pelvic floor rises. Inhale, exhale. Good, and then we're gonna add that belly pump, which you're already doing. You lift your pelvic floor, and then we start to wrap that really deep transverse muscle. So that transverse abdominis is the one that's under the six pack, under the obliques. Think of a zipper from your pubic bone to your rib cage. You exhale, you lift your pelvic floor, and then you zip up the belly. Inhale, you just had a big meal. Undo that zipper, you relax those muscles. Exhale, lift. Good. Inhale, release. Don't push out, just release. Yep, exhale. Pelvic floor, lower abdominal, zip up the front. This is your belly pump and Kegel. And then this is what we're gonna start to do when we pick up heavy babies. So if you've got a baby on the floor, your new mantra is blow before you go. Okay. If you blow out, that core wraps. Yep, good, so you go to pick up the baby, it's a new game for you. You're gonna blow into their face to pick them up. Same thing, you've got them here, you're about to put them down. You wanna keep this out of your lower back, out of pushing out with your core. So blow out, put them down. This is every time you pick up groceries, you pick up those bags, you put those bags down, you stand up out of a position, you skip down, you wrap the core to come up, tip down. Any major movement in the body, and anytime you're loading force onto the body. If you're increasing that load, yep, you want to pull that connective tissue. Pull that connective tissue. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and yeah, it's like training your brain and your body to do it.
It feels like this at first.
Yeah.
The more you do it, just do it slowly. The more you do it, it just becomes second nature.
Yes.
And a lot of people are like, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. Yes, you are.
Yes,
because
but you won't think about it.
once you retrain your brain, you don't think about it. You don't have to think about it every single time. But it's a lot on your brain at the first. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Joni, and thank you for watching. And moms, it's not about going back to the gym and trying to get fit and get our bodies back. It's about like our bodies working properly because they did something amazing, and we should be grateful to them and be careful and just heal those things that need to be healed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So, thank you. Bye.